This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 11, Episode 9, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington across social media. And I'm Rick Snyder.
And I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington Commanders, maybe a little Nationals today since season's ending, and whatever else. I'm going to talk about the Eagles in the Sphere I went and saw.
Not the Philadelphia Eagles.
You know, it's funny because I had an Eagles shirt on, and people were like, Raiders aren't playing the Eagles this week. They're playing Carolina, which they got their butt kicked. Kind of weird. And I was like, no, I'm here for the other Eagles. You know, didn't even dawn on me about that. So I did go by the Las Vegas Raiders Stadium. From the outside, one ugly looking dark mansion.
Mm-hmm.
The inside, it's great, but the outside looks like nothing. It's right there almost on the corner of Main Street of Las Vegas Strip. And across the street, I noticed they knocked down an old hotel and there's a sign that says, "Welcome Oakland A's."
Yeah.
You'll be able to walk from the Strip to either stadium.
Yeah, they're getting ready to I know they're gutting it right now, but they're getting ready to implode. I think it was the Tropicana.
Yeah, it's already gone.
Oh, they did. I thought they were supposed to do it in October.
Right, that's a different one. I'm sorry, they're knocking down several hotels. I mean, my first trip to Vegas in 15 years, something old, something new. You know, there was a lot of this and that, but outside my rental car, breaking down 3 different rental cars, you know, it was a hell of a week. But they offered me a free upgrade if I come back. you ain't never seeing me again. You know, one of those things. But I had a great week. We'll talk about it at the end. All right, so I come back. I'm thinking they're going to get whacked by the Bengals. Bengals are a good team. And offensively, they are a good team.
Bengals were a desperate team as well, Rick.
Yeah.
That's the thing we talked about last week. That's an 0-2 team. I mean, generally, they always start slow. Over the past couple of years, we've seen that with Burrow at the helm. They kind of started slow, but then they would always pick it up and they would be a playoff contender by the end of the season. And you had to think the chips are really stacked against the Commanders with T. Higgins coming back. I mean, that's a big weapon that they franchised. You know, and like you said, their offense was very good, but their defense, man, woof. I don't know whose defense was worse, and I know we'll get into it, but the Bengals defense, that's been a top-tier defense for the past couple seasons. You know, they've got stud playmakers on that defense, and they did not show up Monday night.
Not to knock the Commanders' effort, but this was a classic example of how coaches lose games because the Bengals could score at will. They go to Chase, they go to Higgins. All right, they can score. Why don't you do that all the time? I'm doing that until you stop me.
Yeah.
And said, no, let's do some other stuff. And screw that. I'm taking it down your throat. And they overthink these things, and they lost that game because they could have beat Washington just doing that the whole game. They'd have gotten to 40-some points. But that said, Washington's defense stunk. I don't understand why these 2 tackles can't play worth anything anymore.
No.
They get creation, they just can't finish the play. That leaves your linebackers. They got some kind of gap control problem there. I haven't been impressed with Bobby Wagner at all. And now you leave in your secondary naked and afraid, and they're screwed. And it's like, man, this is just chaos out there. You see people looking around. There's no excuses for this. I know your first year, a lot of that kind of stuff. And, you know, the other part was Forbes is gone. Everybody thought, good, throw him away. Well, you saw what came after him. It wasn't any better. And Emmanuel Forbes may play this week, which would be remarkable. They're kind of expecting him 2 weeks after hand surgery. I'm quite surprised. He'll have a club on it, and he's not meant to tackle. But I'm quite surprised if Forbes comes back. But I guess they figure the urgency of the matter is, yeah, let's go ahead and try.
Yeah, and look, I'm not going to sit here and disregard what happened Monday night. That was one of the most beautiful, complete games that we've seen out of a Redskins, Washington football team, Commanders team in a really long time. And I understand, look, we have the talk of the town in Jaden Daniels. He is all over ESPN, CBS, Fox. That's all they're talking about. I mean, you know, as much as Chris Collinsworth loves Patrick Mahomes, I think Troy Aikman has a bigger man crush on Jaden Daniels. But you know, we still see a team that is in the process of a retool, rebuild, whatever they want to call it, and it's a glaring issue on defense. we talked about guys like Wagner, Ertz, Eckler that came over veterans. We thought, okay, well, they're just here to kind of peter out their last couple seasons and be coaches on the field because Ertz knows the offense, Wagner knows the defense type stuff. Eckler and Ertz are not done. Obviously, Eckler has a concussion, unfortunately, but those two guys are contributing and contributing big time on this team. You're right about Wagner. I don't know if he's really comfortable yet in what they're doing. The only players really that you can talk about on defense, I think Frankie Louvu's playing well. Some of the guys, I feel like maybe there's too much of a rotation at defensive line. I mean, we've seen guys like Fowler get a sack. Farrell got a sack. Jamin Davis was benched, but he only played 15 snaps against the Bengals. I mean, I just feel like they haven't found a line combination that they're set with yet. And yeah, I mean, you talk about Allen and Payne. I mean, I'll say it every show. My prediction was that Payne or Allen gets traded by the end of the season. I think it's more going to be Allen because you just don't see it from Allen right now. I see it from Payne. Payne can penetrate still, but like you said, he's having a hard time wrapping up and making the tackle. But I just see nothing out of John Allen right now.
Yeah, I mean, the trade deadline, I have to look it up. It's around the first week of November. Get what you can because
Yeah.
at this point, it's time to move on.
And I think you need to get what you can for Jamin Davis as well.
Yeah, I don't think you get anything unless somebody loses a player that he could really fit in. And I saw, who was it lost the defensive tackle this weekend? Somebody lost their starter. Maybe Allen goes there.
Yeah.
Looking at the injury report, I just bring it up because it just came over. Did not practice on Wednesday, which they were out in Arizona in 100-degree heat, kind of getting used to that. Although they play in a dome out there.
Yeah, and they're inside. I saw some clips from inside the dome at ASU.
That was a smart move because Monday, I mean, God, the NFL, you make them play on the road Monday night and then make them go across the country on Sunday.
No.
Thanks for that favor. So they said, well, screw it. We're just going to fly direct. Because if they had flown back to D.C., when nobody sleeps on the plane going home, that's a rule. They would have partied the butt off, been dead all day Tuesday, and we had to fly back Friday across the country. I just did that. I know what it takes. So they made the smart move and just went right out to Arizona. Cosme didn't practice on Wednesday because of an Achilles, and that was a new thing to me. They rested Crowder. Eckler's back in D.C. He's not playing in this game, which is a real shame because he's been a big play man for them. Cleveland Farrell's also been ruled out for this week with his knee. Quinn thought maybe he'd play next week, but that one. And then limited was Quan Martin with an elbow, with St. Juice with a chest. And then full was Forbes. I'm like, okay, this kid's tough. And Johnny Newton is back full. So, I mean, by and large, Cosme's the one that I sit there and look at. The Achilles, that's a scary injury because if you got a sore one, you can pop it real easy. And then you're gone for the season.
Yeah.
I think this offensive line, I did on some of my videos on YouTube. To me, the offensive line's been the unsung heroes of this team in 2 wins because they've done pretty well. The interior running game's not really doing much, but they're protecting JD.
Yeah.
And I think they've done very well with that. If they can protect this kid, I have been saying, you've heard me say this all through the offseason, he was the truth. I spotted it back in the offseason practices. Once I could see him on the field, I was like, this is the real deal. And I think he'll be the best quarterback since Joe Theismann, which is about 40 years ago. Might even, if he gets a good health, might even be better than Theismann. I always rank quarterbacks since the 91 Super Bowl. We've had 36 starters. I moved JD up to 6 now, behind Rippon, Brad Johnson, Cousins, Smith, and Green. And if he has the year I think he has, I may make him 3rd or 4th. I mean, it's still early. I understand that. But I know what a football player looks like. I've been around football fields 50 years. Mm-hmm. This kid is it. He's got the better attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll be more successful than Robert Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
Griffin and Shanahan just ruined each other on that. I think he's the deal. I mean, he's the real deal who can make any throw. He made some great throws. I was really happy to see McCaffrey make that big conversion catch because I've been waiting for him too. He's been good in the summer practices, but I hadn't seen it in the games. And now we saw that. But, De'Ami Brown, I guess we can say goodbye to De'Ami Brown because he's gone invisible again. despite his hour documentary, which if you see it is me talking in the first minute, which they didn't ask, but whatever. Everybody loves the show. They just lift stuff, you know. So,
well, yeah, let me touch on a couple things that you brought up. First, I want to hit Eckler real quick. You're right. Eckler, that was a guy that everybody kind of figured was just on the scrap heap. The Chargers got rid of him. They didn't want to pay him. They said he was washed, everything like that. I have seen nothing but dynamic play from Austin Eckler. That dude, he still has burst. Obviously he dealt with a couple injuries in Los Angeles with the Chargers, but look, the guy's got nothing but burst. He can catch the ball out of the backfield and take it 20 yards before you blink. We saw the touchdown run against the Bengals. He was stopped at the line of scrimmage and somehow squirted off the left tackle, and he was gone, and nobody could catch him. That guy, that's been a top signing by Adam Peters. That was a guy that was a low risk, high reward type of signing, and that's exactly what we got out of him.
And the part about Eckler is they hit him in the preseason and all about being a returner. They never had him line up for anything I ever saw as a returner.
Yeah.
But we know with these new rules, pretty much they were telling us running backs and receivers were going to be the guys who could take a hit and keep running. And, what you do the first time goes 99 yards for a touchdown. They called it back, but he did it this game. I mean, he's a really good returner.
Yes.
This kind of stuff that they're doing. I don't know how they're going to replace him yet, but that's one thing I really like about Eckler, too. I mean, he and Ertz are just 100% adrenaline running around that field.
Yeah. Now to touch on Jaden a little bit, and I'm going to gush here a little bit because I'll be honest with you, Rick. This was the game for him to grow, per se. I mean, they always say it takes you 3 to 4 games to get adjusted to the NFL. And we see it with the rookies. Look, we're seeing it at Bo Nix. Bo Nix this week had a good game for Denver. They ended up winning. We still haven't seen it out of Caleb Williams yet, and obviously J.J. McCarthy's hurt, and Drake May's still on the bench. But of the rookie quarterbacks that are playing, 2 out of 3 have finally taken a step forward in week 3. This was, and I think it was kind of a continuation from the Giants game. If you remember, that game started out very much like the Bucks game, where it was side to side passing. It was designed quarterback keepers that were sniffed out by the defense. But as they kind of got more comfortable and in a groove towards the end of the Giant game, Jaden started pushing the ball down the field. He started looking down the field. He started trying to connect with his wide receivers and his tight ends over his running backs and his wide receivers that were just split out for a screen pass. That was a continuation of this. This was Cliff Kingsbury called the perfect game for this quarterback. And I know all the talk of the cornerback was saying, "Oh, it's a cute little college offense." Well, yeah, I mean, every offense is a touch of college. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury was the USC offensive coordinator last year. Of course, it's a college offense. But I will say this: I've heard a lot of the comparisons of Robert. I'll say this: if you watch Jaden Daniels in college, Jaden Daniels is a pass first guy. Jaden Daniels has a cannon for an arm, and he's always looking to make the play with his arms. He has the potential to kill you with his legs, which we've seen. We saw it on a 4th and 1. We saw it on the touchdown run, the 2 touchdown runs where he just bulldozed his way against the Buccaneers. Robert Griffin was a run first style quarterback in an offense that encouraged him to run. Robert wasn't decisive enough pushing the ball down the field. Now, I know there are plays that Robert made. Look, the game 1 against the Saints, that long bomb to Pierre Garçon, I understand that was a perfect pass, but we didn't see it enough consistently with Robert compared to what we've seen with Jaden Daniels. I mean, the guy missed two passes. He threw 23 balls and only 2 of them weren't caught. And one of them, it was an overthrow to Terry, where if Terry had caught it, that was a sure touchdown right in the beginning. And I believe the other one was he went long and he should have went short to Ertz for the first down. That was resulting in the field goal. Jaden Daniels is a different quarterback than Griffin, than Lamar, than Hurts. I understand you want to give him the running quarterback tagline, but this kid is a throwing quarterback that can also, he is a dual threat quarterback in every sense of the word, but he's a pass first type quarterback. I was highly impressed. What impressed me the most was how many times have we seen a Commanders team or whatever you want to call them, a Washington team, go into Monday night and be completely unprepared, and just next thing you know, it's 20-0, and they barely touched the ball. They've gone 3 and out, 3 straight drives. This team was prepared. Jaden Daniels stood in the pocket the last touchdown to Terry. Stood in the pocket, knew he was going to get hit, and delivered the most perfectly thrown ball that he could have thrown over perfect coverage by the corner. Terry had no business catching that ball, but if it wasn't for the throw, the moxie, the poise, the attitude, the way that he commanded the game, Rick, that's what most impressed me. He's telling McCaffrey where to line up. He's looking at Quinn and Kingsbury. Get me the play. We need to get this off. What are we? No, keep the punter off the field. We're going for it. This kid looked like a 10-year veteran in his 3rd game. That is the most impressive thing I've ever seen out of that guy.
All summer when I was watching practice in spring and summer, and that's really when we get to see him in practice. Now it's regular season, you don't get to see anything. The ball never hit the ground much. That was one thing I noticed all summer. Ball wasn't on the ground. So he does do that. He's got great poise. He's got a great attitude like this. Robert was full of himself, partly because teammates were calling him Black Jesus.
Right.
Acted in Baylor. I mean, I get it. That's a lot to process when you're 21. But this kid doesn't even think about any of that stuff. He's truly just concentrates on the game, and that's all. And doesn't worry about the rest. That's going to take him a long way. And the last score is like, you're going to need another touchdown because they're going to score at the end, and you don't want Cincinnati to steal this game. And once again, it'll be a 41-38 loss. That kind of thing. You could smell it. The kicker made a pressure field goal at a key time. That was a big deal. Cincinnati missed the field goal because the snap was bad, I think, more than anything. And that was a pivotal 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
Always like that. They're going to always, be close games. So if you were out, I mean, you told me you scored 38 points, you figure you got an easy win. No, this was like the old Charger days.
Yep.
On this. And so I was impressed. Everything looked good. Now they go to Arizona. Arizona's, I don't think that great a team, but they're favored by 3. It's one of those 50-50 games that they could win. Just like, I didn't really think they could beat Cincinnati. The Giants, I thought, was a 50-50 game. Who screwed it up on there? I mean, the funniest part is Trustway has just been holding, at this point. I
was going to say that we're the first team in the NFL to have a professional holder, because this team has not punted in 18 drives.
Yeah, they should have. Yeah, he punted opening day. That's
the last time he punted was with 11 minutes left in the 4th quarter against the Buccaneers.
Yeah, so he's going to go 3 weeks without a punt. So the best player this team had his number taken away and benched by Jaden Daniels.
That was the best tweet I saw that night. It was Jaden not only took his number, but took his job.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, we sound like real fanboys, but excuse me, it's finally something to see worth something. This is what I stayed around to watch. I stayed this season because I wanted to see something happen this year. After that first loss, I kind of wondered, but I think they're around a 500 team. The schedule gets soft.
Yeah.
And, it's nobody goes undefeated.
And that's the thing with the Cardinals. Look, the Cardinals have, don't get me wrong, the Cardinals have superstars. They have a Marvin Harrison Jr. looks to be like the truth. There's Kyler Murray is good. I'll say that. Kyler Murray is a good quarterback, and the new Call of Duty hasn't come out yet, so he's still not distracted. Yeah, he's a big Call of Duty guy, if you didn't know. But anyway, yeah, so they have playmakers. James Conner is a veteran running back that can make plays on you. It'll be very interesting to see. I think it is a toss-up. It's a 50-50 game. It's basically who has the ball last type of game. I didn't think they had a shot against Carolina. Cincinnati, you and I both talked about it, but that's one of those games where it's just unexpected, and that's the thing. A lot of it going in, my thought process was it's Monday night, rookie quarterback. We saw we only scored 7 field goals against the Giants and just barely came out with a win there. There was a lot of variables going into my decision. And I tell you what, I'm glad I was wrong, kind of looking forward. You said, it does kind of soften up. Arizona's a toss up. Cleveland, I don't know what's wrong with Deshaun Watson. That's $239 million of wasted money. Baltimore will be a tough game. It's in Baltimore, but it's close to home. They always have a stellar defense, and Lamar Jackson is the MVP of the league for a reason. Carolina, who knows how long they can ride Andy Dalton? I mean, they benched Bryce Young, but Andy Dalton stepped in and threw 3 touchdowns against Vegas. Chicago, that's going to be, they have a very good defense. They have a very good team. Caleb Williams is not playing the way that everybody expected. And then you got at New York, Pittsburgh comes here. That's going to be tough. Pittsburgh's undefeated under Justin Fields. You go Philly, Dallas, Tennessee, New Orleans, Philly, Atlanta, Dallas. I mean, like you said, could they be 7-8 or whatever, 7-9, 7-10? Yeah, they could. Could they be 8-9? Sure. Could they be 9-8? Sure. I can see anywhere in that. But this is a game. This is a team that won 4 games last year. You do a 3 or 4 game improvement. I'll take that any day. And then you let Adam Peters go out in the draft and get a left tackle, right tackle. You talked about Allegretti, you talked about Biotish, and you've talked about Cosme. The middle of the line is really overperforming. Biotish was a highly touted signing by this team, and Allegretti was kind of an underrated one, like because he's he played for the Chiefs, he was a backup, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, Brandon Coleman has stepped up at left tackle. I've seen a lot. There's a good protection when he's in the game. He still may make some boneheaded moves here and there because he is a young guy. But you fix right tackle, and you can spend money on that defense, man. You get yourself some corners. You get yourself, line help or linebackers. And I still think this team needs a second wide receiver. I've been impressed with Noah Brown over the 2 games that he's played. He hasn't, really made too many dynamic plays, but he's been there when you needed him to.
Yeah. All right. 2 quick predictions. Brandon Coleman will be next year's starting left tackle, and they'll go either receiver or corner in the draft.
Really? Okay.
And then I'm going to pick this game, Washington 27, Arizona 24.
I'll be honest with you. I don't see them being able to they won't be as low in the draft order as we kind of expected. So you're probably not going to be where they'll draft if they end up, around anywhere from 10 to 16 is probably where I could see them ending up. You're not going to land one of the top tier left tackles, and you'd be stretching at that point. So I kind of agree with you with the wide receiver or the corner, best player available type thought process. And also you got to see what's in free agency. I know, look, Jamar Chase is going to be a free agent. Probably, maybe you throw a bunch of money at him. You got to be careful because you don't want to disrespect Terry. That's your leader. That's your number one. But as far as the game goes, I'll say 31-21 Washington.
Ooh, okay. All right. Switching gears real quick. Washington Nationals finished their season. Quite frankly, they petered out. They're only around 70 wins, by the end of the season. Got to get better. They brought up some rookies, although Cruz isn't hitting that great. But they found some young pitching. They found some young players. CJ had to go sit in AAA for the last week, but that was kind of strange. But I guess there was a message there.
Yeah, I mean that was a message that needed to be sent. When you have a 125 pitch and you're at a casino at 8 a.m. in the morning and you've clearly been there all night, you need a little bit of growing up. You need a little bit of maturing. I mean, look, this is an all-star for our team, and we didn't have many, so you don't necessarily throw him away. He is a building block of this team, but he does need a little bit of maturing. So props to Davey for doing that. For having the cojones to do that.
Yeah, and as we're speaking now, doing this, Patrick Corbin's taking him out for his 170th start in Washington. It didn't
Hopefully his last.
I mean, the dude was there every 5 days. I'll give him that. It's just didn't last long, but he'd have a good game here and there just to throw you off. But they've got to go find 2 more pitchers. I think starting pitchers. They got to find some bullpen. They're starting 8 is good enough, I guess. They need to improve there a little, but it was a year forward. Now we'll see if the learners spend some money, and because it's been 5 years now into a rebuild, it's time to show us some wins. Patient long enough on that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We don't know how JoJo Gray is going to return from having the surgery. So, that was your guy that you kind of slated to be an ace. I know there's a lot of rumblings that they're looking to bring Juan Soto back. How much that costs?
That's not happening.
Look, Otani got $500 million, and Otani is worth every penny. If you saw what he did the other night,
Well, yeah, but I mean, 500 million for Soto. The Learners would have to sell, half of Navy Yard to come up with that.
I know.
Which, but I don't see them doing that.
Yeah, and that's the problem too. Is the sad thing. The team was up for sale, and they overvalued their franchise and their park. This could have been over where you could have look, we could have had a Josh Harris situation come into Washington for the Nationals, not necessarily Josh per se, but a team that was coming in to spend some money and to bring in the right pieces. Look, I can only hope that what the Commanders have done and what Ted Leonsis did. I mean, if you want to go back to when he bought the Capitals were a bottom of the tier team that had some, middle success here and there. Obviously, they made the Stanley Cup in '99. But when Ted took over, it was just, hey, I'm going to try the Dan Snyder approach, but then I realized, hey, I can't buy a Stanley Cup, so let's start from the scraps. And then in 2008, they finally cracked through. They won a Stanley Cup. They have one of the greatest goal scorers of all time in their sweater for his entire career. I mean, the learners need to look at what Leonsis and what the Harris Group has done, and they need to realize, look, we need to do the same thing. We need to get a team of ownership in here that's going to completely just dump every resource that they have into this team.
Yeah, throw in quickly since you mentioned Obi. Season starts soon, right?
Yeah, they're in preseason right now. They roughly play anywhere from 8 to 12 preseason games. But the thing with preseason, Rick, it's worse than the NFL. There are no players playing in the NHL playoffs.
So how many does Obi need? 45 to tie?
I think it's 52.
That seems 52 seems out of reach for this season.
Let me check real quick. Ovi goals.
If they decide we're all about Ovi scoring 52 goals this year, screw the wins, well, they could probably do it.
Oh, but he's 59 goals behind Wayne Gretzky.
Next year, then that can't happen this year. And that's okay.
I mean, look, he's 38 years old, but I'll say this. You know me, I'm not a Capitals fan, but I love the game of hockey. He's 38 years old, but that guy has not slowed down. Oh, no, I'm sorry. As of June 7th, he's 42 goals behind Wayne. So, yeah, you're right. I don't know what this 59 goals. Oh, that's from February. My bad.
All right, 42.
42 is doable. He's a 50 goal scorer. I don't know if he still is at 38 years old, but you never know.
You kind of want him to come back early next year so he can sell tickets. Because the question is, does he retire once he's done this? Finish the season, but I can see him being 40 or whatever. He wants to play in Russia at least a year as a personal thing. I don't know if he still does, but he talked about it. The guy's been great. It's been great. I covered him a little bit, so I've talked to him. It's been cool to see all that. All right, before we go out the door, I was in Las Vegas last week. Went to several sports books. Man, they're like, TVs 100 yards long, curved around, and I lost $2 in the casinos, but did go see the Eagles, the band, the Eagles, in the new sphere that they have that you might have seen. I'll put up some video on my page about it. It's mind-blowing, immersive entertainment. The Eagles are 75; their voices are going. They still play well. But you were so enraptured by what you were seeing all around you. I had floor seats, and for those of you who know, it's like a round dome, and you see all this stuff. Like they open with Hotel California, and the video is a story that you feel like you're riding this car through. And matter of fact, they did Life in the Fast Lane on the Strip. I had to close my eyes once he was going to rear end somebody, and I felt it was so real. I had to close my eyes and reset. And it was just a fabulous concert. It's the beginning of, I think, a new wave of entertainment. The VR headsets that we're going to be, getting in the next few years, you're going to see this stuff. You won't have to pay as much as I did, but it was a cool event to go to. I really enjoyed it. I went all around Vegas and saw.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool events that are going to be in the Sphere. I know they're doing a UFC event in the Sphere if they haven't already done it. I tell you what, man, I'm not a big Eagles fan. The band, not the football team. Not really a big Eagles fan, but I tell you, there's one band out there that I would probably pay whatever it took to go see inside that Sphere, and that would be Pink Floyd. just to see because I mean, Floyd is a visual band anyway. You could go see Roger Waters because he does the wall. All the wall graphics all over that thing would be really cool, or just to see Pink Floyd do Dark Side of the Moon or something like that. I think that would be super cool.
Yeah, I was asking my son-in-law, who's a big heavy metal guy, I said, what band could you put in there, like Megadeth or something? And you could just see the flames all around you, like, welcome to hell. We're going to play for eternity.
Oh yeah, you could totally do a Metallica could sell that thing out with no problem.
And you think that you're in hell and the flames are everywhere. I mean, it would be just mind-blowing to see something.
And that would be my thing. Obviously, like Pink Floyd, like I said, The Wall, Dark Side of the Moon, those records tell stories. There's a band, they call them a prog metal band, a progressive metal band called Coheed and Cambria. Their entire band and their entire catalog is all about this story of these two characters and what they do to survive and stuff like that. I could see that I don't think they have the ability to sell out the Sphere, but they may. But the visuals on that wall, maybe in a smaller venue, would be really cool. Like there's bands out there that could really do it.
They're saying I'll bet in the next 10 to 20 years, almost every major city has a Sphere. They're already talking about building a second one somewhere. I bet, because it's just what's going to happen. And Vegas, the one thing about going to Vegas, you always used to in the past, I could bet on sports, I can play the casinos. You can do it on your phone now. So Vegas pivoted to big entertainment on there. They're back to that again. So
what's the deal with that place? How do you go in? The whole thing is in a dome. Is it kind of like a snow globe where it has a base?
Yeah, it has a base, and you go in from about 6 different directions. So
Okay.
really very easy to get in and out of. I even parked about 30 yards from the door, which was
What's that thing seat? Like how many people?
18,000. It goes up. I'll send you some photos. It goes up.
Okay, now last question. Did you have a conversation with God like we did at Audi Field going to see the Defenders? Because those steps were steep.
I was on the floor seats.
You spent some of that. That's where the donations went. They all went to Rick going to see the Eagles.
I spent 25 years of donations for this, probably. So
hey, I heard you tried out to be Rick Harrison's historian.
I went to Pawn Stars too, and it was great. I went to their store. It's mostly tourists. It's not as small as people say, but there's not a lot of stuff to really buy except the T-shirts. And I got an old man bobblehead and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
that was cool. They weren't there, of course. They're not anymore. But that was cool just to go see it. I just kind of bucket list stuff. I went to a Jack in the Box. I'd never been to one of those.
Oh, nice. Did you get the tacos?
Yeah, they were hard and crap. I didn't like them.
But I love Jack tacos.
Otherwise, I would say Jack in the Box was pretty much like a Wendy's. So I don't quite get the cult following, just like In-N-Out Burger and Whataburger. They're fine. Five Guys beats all of them. So, all right, we got to get out of here before I get cut off. I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
See you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent with your hosts, Rick Snyder and Matt Combs.